G'day everyone, Jason Nunn from Fisherman's Warehouse Marine, Sweet Street at Warners Bay, your Newcastle Honda marine dealer. And guys, of course, the Honda dollars right the way through now till the 30th of June. So if you're looking for a repower, you've still got around about 10, 11 days for the opportunity to cash in on those Honda dollars. And look at the weather. Thursday today, it is just mirrored out here on Lake Macquarie, and the offshore fishery is basically the same. So we're going to start to stay out wide because there's some really good opportunities over the next few days. Out wide, around about, 1,000 fathoms, or maybe even not even that, on the back of the mids, 22.5 degrees, and it's right the way through to the shelf. Drops off a little bit towards the edge, but out around about that, 600,000 fathom line, really good water, 22.5. There's a great temp breakdown in around about 33, 38. Drops down to 18.9. So that temp break, when it pushes up on itself, is dropping nearly 2.5 degrees, possibly 3 degrees at stages. Ideal for yellowfin fishing. I think that this is where it's at. A lot of inquiries this week. We've seen a lot of banter on Facebook, guys wanting to know what's actually going on. Is there fish out there? No one's really been out there over the last few weeks, but when they did have the opportunity, there were some really nice fish up to almost 50 kilo. So I would think they're going to be there. This is the period tomorrow being Friday and Saturday. They're the two picks to get out there with this variable wind. I know Dan from Sandy Bottom Charters are going to have a bit of a look tomorrow, so I might have some intel into next week, what's actually going on. But every opportunity to get striped marlin off the back of the mids on that warmer water, 22.5, and that temp break down to 18.9, 33, 38, looks very, very good. So if it was myself, I'd be heading down there first. Remember, you can always come back up. There's not lots of current, but it looks very, very encouraging. The weather is going to be absolutely picture perfect for it. Variable winds today, tomorrow being Friday, variable, Saturday, variable, Sunday, a little bit of northerly, northwest, not too much, but then we start to get the northerlies back into basically Monday and some stronger northwesters into Tuesday. But it is perfect the next few weeks. Got to talk about the tides too, guys, this week. On Saturday, low tide in the morning, 10 a.m. 4:40 p.m. Saturday afternoon. That is a great tide for any type of fishing, whether you're fishing the lake, the beach, the rocks, or offshore. It is perfect. And the tides are going to build, and we're heading into that new moon next Wednesday, 2.12 tides by next Wednesday. So we're going to start to see the build up, and in particular from around about Saturday onwards, when it sort of jumps up to 1.8s and it continues on before you know it's into 2 meters. So some very, very big tides. If you're going to fish on that farm area all the way down to the Texas, Kings definitely down south, bigger trag, perch, but up around the farm, Catherine Hill Bay Farm up to North Farm, you're getting trag through there, obviously mowies and bigger flathead, of course, but some really nice reds, fish, that 1.5 kilo, 2 kilo, but some better fish amongst it. So it's worthwhile going out and fishing that 100-metre line, very much so. Be careful of your whales. You've got to be always making sure you don't try to travel prior to sunrise, and make sure you're back by sunset. Really just safety first at this stage. And no doubt there still will be timber coming down, so you've got to really consider some of those obstacles that's going to be offshore. The inshore fishery, and particularly with these afternoon tides, is absolutely perfect. Again, spoke to Dan this week from Sandy Bottom, tells me there's some really nice trag getting caught south. He's been getting some really nice reds early in on that shallow water, so I think that makes way for fishing really close on the afternoon tide. Perfect. But up to 35 metres, you're getting some better trag, Catherine Hill Bay south. So some really good fishing south. Up around Redhead, in particular, Banksy, a good mate of mine, Shane Banks, and of course Lucas Stansell, they were out there last Sunday fishing. Couldn't get through the Taylor. Taylor up to, there's a few up there around about that 50 centimetres, but a lot of fish, 40, 45s, but thick all the way through that Dudley Redhead area, lots of Taylor. There are a few Taylor, of course, down towards Catho, mixed in with some Trevally, but Redhead at the moment, loaded with Taylor. But big Mac tuna, 5 to 6 kilo, getting caught burling down the trail on floating pilchers down the trail. So some really big Macs happening offshore. I know Dave Parker, one of our good mates, he fished up off Newcastle the other day on Sunday in the morning, and the tide was around about 11:30, but he got some nice fish up around, again, snapper up to that 45. So 35s to 45s tend to be a little more in abundance. I reckon they're at Dudley Redhead as well, guys, but you just can't get through the Taylor. So there's a bid on offer, and still plenty of small trag at that Dudley Redhead area. The beaches, there is salmon everywhere, right up through that Belmont Blacksmith stretch. Got some intel on that this week. The odd small mulloway, so, and strangely enough, getting caught on beach worms. So there's a few fish in and around that 50, 55s, and the odd better fish up around that 80 centimetres. But a lot of salmon mixed in with a few tailor. Some of those tailor, look, you know, there's a few up to around about that 50 centimetres, but some jumbo salmon. I've heard that there's some better tailor up around Stockton. So if you want to go north, that is definitely the way to go. On the rocks, lots of Ludwig and lots of drummer, brim of course. So the afternoon tide will be perfect this weekend, and that swell has started to abate off. Now, in the estuary out here, of course, there are a lot of flathead, and this is a time of year to get out there and start vibing on those bait schools. So a few mulloway, but not as many as I would have thought by this stage, but a lot of nice flathead and some really nice reds. I've got a couple of tips this week, a couple of very good fish out of lake, 55 to 60 centimetre fish getting caught. So the advantage there, if you're fishing for mulloway over an evening, you always got the chance to catch those reds, but using soft plastics on the bait school. So some really nice reds in Lake Macquarie itself, mixed in with your flatties and mixed in with your tailor, and of course the dreaded salmon. Some good brim in on the shallows, but I really think the edges is where you're going to get a lot more brim, and fish, guys, with oily base baits if you can. Things like chicken gut, mullet gut, bonito fillets, mullet fillets, that type of stuff, and preferring to fish after dark. Of course, that new moon is going to roll through on Wednesday, so those bigger tides are going to roll through, and you've got some really big tides in and around about Wednesday, I say 2.12 on the back of that new moon, so things looking very, very good. Guys, all in all, this is a weekend that we've been waiting for absolutely months, but I reckon Friday, Saturday is going to the pick. If you catch a few, give me some reports. Look forward to catching up next week. See you then.